Are you struggling to find something to do now that we're going through the writers and actors strikes? Too Opinionated has you covered. 625 and counting episodes of the best actors, musicians, writers, and everybody involved in the entertainment universe. Go to MeisterCon Pod on YouTube and subscribe, and you'll never miss an episode. Thank you guys for your support. Until next time, bye, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited. Today, I've got visual effects artist Kenneth Lui with me. So welcome, Kenneth.
Hello.
So I guess I need to start here because I was telling you offline, I think you're the first visual effects person we've had on the show. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that that's right. So my question is, what exactly do you do? And what's the difference in visual effects and digital effects? Or is there a difference?
Okay. What I do is I am part of the team, and I am primarily responsible for excising any particular asset of a shot so it could be manipulated. So for instance, if I wanted to put a monster behind you or in front of you, I'm responsible for cutting you out. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does.
There you go. So it's not always done with green screen. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to cut it out by hand, if that makes any sense. So you need a human eye to distinguish what parts you want to keep and what parts you don't want to keep, if that makes sense. So, and the difference between there's no visual and digital it's kind of interchangeable. So
okay, yeah, I thought so.
Yeah,
but that makes sense. So if let me give you a couple of because I know you've done a lot of work with Marvel and DC. So let me give you a little example. This will be a question. So I went to see Flash.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I actually thought the story was really good, and it was worth it just to see Keaton in the Batsuit again. I mean,
obviously,
if the movie
the price of
was terrible, that I'd have been there just for that. But it's gotten some flack because of the special effects. Right?
Yeah.
So my question is, and I think I know the answer, but
the
question is, were the effects not quite as strong because the studio kind of rushed the time that the video artist had to do that type of thing? Or was that okay? That's it.
Or
that's
what?
It.
What's the or? What's the
or? Well, I was just going to say, or was it just poorly done?
A lot. Okay. You have to understand, a lot of the artists that are involved are big fans. We're big nerds. Yeah. And so we've been waiting all our lives to work on these IPs, right? So, but the thing is, though, you're only allotted the time that you get to work on it, right? And a lot of times you pull 16-hour days to the very end, like to the most you can, to make it just, to make Captain America look just right, or to make Iron Man look so good, because as a fan, you want to make it as good as possible. But the thing is, you don't always get that time, and a lot of times, sometimes you get marching orders to go a different direction or change things. So sometimes things are changed at the last minute, and then people are scrambling and that kind of thing. So it all just depends on how the planning and the commitment to decisions. And since now with the in CGI, you can do anything. You can smoke it up. You can make it more bloody. You can make it light, different. All these toggles, if you will. Then there's kind of like anyway. But to answer your question, yes, you are correct. Like, they don't get all the time that they necessarily would like. And
I get it a little bit, the time crunch, because they pick those dates for the movies to come out well in advance. But I mean, shouldn't they be baking in enough time to do it correctly? Especially, DC has struggled a little bit getting their movies kind of on par with what Marvel's doing, and they've been doing better, but that type of thing can kind of derail you.
Well, I think, you know what, here, think of it this way, I guess. Like, like cookies. You know, a good cookie, you know, you can make a good cookie at home, but then sometimes a corporate cookie, it might not be the best, or maybe the mom and pop bakery has a really good cookie. So in other words, because we're human and it's art, there's a lot of variables. So sometimes you might have a really good, situation where you see that movie and like, wow, those effects were fantastic. And then sometimes not. So again, it all depends on people's, vision, their planning, the budget, all sorts of variables. So you can't just simply cite like, because I used to think that way too. I used to, from the outside, like, effects should be getting better. Why are they like, how come that show wasn't as good as that show? Shouldn't things be better? Like, didn't they learn from the last show? And then once I kind of got on the inside and I realized how things worked, it's they're just like in any other industry. There's good plumbers, there's bad plumbers. You know what I mean? There's good, pizza places, there's bad pizza places.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
kind of
yeah,
like
that's why I wanted to ask you, because I knew you'd have the answers. And and also, and you tell me if I'm wrong, if they send you something to work on, your timeline and probably, I'm assuming probably your pay, you're being paid for a certain amount of work. But
yes.
each piece of that work could involve vastly different amounts of time. They might send you something and it's just a matter of taking somebody out of the picture. Or they may send you something and you got to do all kinds of crazy stuff to get it looking right. So it takes a lot longer. I mean, is that correct?
It's yes. And again, it's case by case, but you just bear in mind, if let's say someone makes a decision and then we stick by it, then you have a whole team of people making that decision
right
happen and then polishing it up and making it even better and better and better. But let's say if there's trajectory changes and people change their mind, oh, can we make Captain America Aquaman instead? Okay, now you have that same team scrabbling, starting from scratch almost. So it's kind of like that, you know what I mean? So as long as there's a direction, that's why the people at the top making decisions, because like me as part of the team, I work on it as much as I can, as best as I can, regardless of like what it is, if that makes any sense. So
it does.
if you give me a day to do it, then you'll get a day's worth of my attention and expertise. If you give me a week though, oh, well then I get to polish it up and I get to go further and maybe work on other things or help out my friend. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
I do, because it's my wife's a painter. And when she paints, she'll paint something and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, that looks really good. And she says, well, that's not finished. Then she'll add another layer.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, that looks really good. She's like, that's not finished. And then she keeps doing that. And by the time she's done, she's right. It's amazing the difference. And I thought it looked good at the beginning, and I'm assuming it's the same way. If you got extra time, you're just going to keep going back and making it better.
It's on you, and you hit the nail right on the head, because it's just like anything else, whether it's like car design or cooking food. It's like it's those last touches at the very end. Like if you're making a drink, or a cocktail, it's that squeeze a lemon at the end. Or if it's a painting, it's those white highlights, those little teeny details, the little highlight in the forehead, the highlight on the nose, all these teeny little things you don't necessarily think about, but it really makes the piece sing with those little teeny. But you don't get there until you have the struts and the whole thing on top of it, the paint, and the main the broad strokes, just like you mentioned. So
yeah, well, that makes sense. Now, I saw Indiana Jones. I thought the work on that was really good, because that whole making him younger thing, I mean, maybe it's not perfect, but it looked like a young Indy to me.
Yeah, no, it's and usually the most direct techniques are the best too. So that's one of those cases where I think they use some deep fakes kind of philosophy, where you take the library of all of Harrison Ford's like face and all the varying lighting situations, and then the computer then just kind of does
amazing.
Yeah, it makes sense. In other words, instead of someone else painting it, or so you have, and the computer's not necessarily even painting it. It's just they're taking shots of Harrison from other shows and then kind of do and kind of make. It's quite fascinating, honestly. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it is too. It just boggles my mind that we're at the point where we can do that type of thing.
That and actually preserving people's kind of visages, if you will,
Yeah,
for posterity. You can have Marlon Brando now in your movie 100 years from now if you digitally kind of scan him and have the data
kind
there.
of scary.
It is very scary, actually. But I mean, it like just like anything else. If you use it well, then it's great. If you use it weird, then it's creepy.
Right. So. That's exactly right. So Kenneth, I got us off track, and thank you for explaining that, because I think it's really interesting with that. I mean, because I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and
as
I
did
was nerdy, and I mean, I used to dream about the comic book stuff coming to life, or Dungeons and Dragons, that type of thing. And the technology just wasn't there to do it very well.
Right. Yeah.
So these days, even if a movie comes out and you're a little disappointed in the writing or whatever it is, it's still, to me, amazing, because I'm getting to see these properties on screen, and I never thought.
Absolutely. I am right there with you. I grew up in the 80s as well, so I totally relate to that feeling. I think it's also kind of very, what heartens me is there's a lot of younger generation that actually kind of, when they see the CGI and it's done well, they go, okay, yeah, whatever. It's very dismissive, and they like the practical. They like to see the strings on the puppet. They kind of, they kind of like seeing they appreciate the tactile. Like I see, I'm very heartened by video essays. I see, talking about, how great The Thing was, or the OG Terminator, like kind of effects with the goop on Arnold's face. And so
I even enjoyed like the Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, the old school one.
The old school one.
The Harryhausen stop motion.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
It's great.
They did a lot with not too much.
Well, it's because it's really there too. It's tactile. Yeah. It's a real object that's actually in space, in our reality.
Yeah. So. Yeah, pretty neat. So Kenneth, let's back up a little bit. What got you into this line of work? Why'd you want to go into the entertainment business?
Oh goodness. Well, just like you said before, like in the 80s, I grew up in the 80s. So, raised by a single mom. So escapism was a really big thing growing up, right? So just like you're saying, like, comic books and Ninja Turtles and Batman and, Iron Man. And then, so I knew I wanted to be involved. I just want to be involved with movies in some way, even if it was just doing something, whatever. So I as soon as I could, I'm writing my own stories. I'm drawing in my little peachy folder, and then as soon as I graduated high school, I went to Art Center College of Design, which is has a film school there, a film program. And then and that's it. And what I loved about that program was they're really like soup to nuts. They teach you every little thing. So, whether it's sound or design or storyboards, cinematography, all of it. Acting, there's an acting class in that program. So once I graduated, then I was just looking for any place I could just learn and intern at and work for free and get coffee. And so I did that for a while at Ridley Scott's commercial house, where I just, I got coffee. Hey, we forgot the green screen. Oh, send the kid to go get it. Okay, I had a pickup truck. So I'm the 19-year-old kid with the pickup truck, and I'm driving. I'm getting the green screen for, from some music video that they're making. And so that was.
Oh, you put the work in. Like you started from the bottom.
I wanted to be involved. I was possessed. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to know how to do it, because like I said, like growing up, I love the cinema. I love escapism, and I wanted to be a part of that whole thing.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So, and then, since then, you've worked with Marvel and DC on some big projects. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, no. A favorite. Ooh. Okay. Well, here. Oh, goodness. Favorite.
And why would it be my favorite? You've done Doctor Strange. I think you did work on Civil War.
Yes.
V versus S.
The thing is, it's just like, okay. Well, what popped into my mind was my very first kind of big movie, which was Terminator Salvation. That was my big
Yeah.
And what was
That's the
funny,
Christian Bale one, right?
correct. And the
Yeah.
thing about that particular show that was significant for me is because Terminator is what got me into the movies in the first place. Like I'm 9 years old. My dad shows me the Terminator on a videotape, and I lost my mind. I said, this movie is the best movie I've ever seen. And then I find out that James Cameron, directed it and wrote it and designed the Terminator, and I lost my mind again. Like, wait, there's a job where you get to design things and write it, and then I discovered John Carpenter, who writes the music for it too. And I'm just like, okay, this is something I wanna do. So I would say Salvation, because that, and also one of the best, like some of my best work. And that's the kind of funny thing about the VFX industry. You could do your best work, but the show might not do the best, or maybe the story isn't the best. But your part you did really well, or I'm always proud, honestly, of every show and every
Yeah.
time I do something. But there was a really high bar on that show. Well, they're all high bars, but I don't want to sound weird. Anyway, the point is, I got a chance to really get nutty on a particular shot, and I got a lot of time. I got the time equity to really kind of nerd out on this one particular Terminator shot. So I would say that would be my proudest.
That's awesome. I went to see. I was in, at that time when Salvation came out. I was in sales and hated it. I mean, miserable.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah. I hear you.
I was
really,
supposed to be out selling, and instead went to the movies. Saw 3 movies in a row, and I don't remember what the other 2 were, but the third one was Terminator Salvation. It was a great day. But I didn't get much selling done that day.
I hear you.
What was it like the first time you got to see like your name up on screen?
Oh, wow. First off, it doesn't always happen, unfortunately, because it's a big team and there's not a lot of room. I know people complain that the credits are so long.
Yeah.
That's actually, there's probably more people that don't get credited.
Yeah,
So
I never complain because I want everybody to get their credit.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, like studios might not necessarily feel like putting the whole. Right. So to answer your question, wow. Well, can I tell? Well, I to be honest, the first time I actually got the biggest thrill seeing my name in the credits was actually not for VFX, but when I was a PA. That's a production assistant.
Yeah.
For a movie that I forgot that I worked on. I forgot that I worked on it, and it was Secretary. I don't know if you remember that movie.
Oh yeah, James Spader. Yeah.
James Spader. That's correct. Yeah. So I remember I'm like watching the movie just as like as a fan, and then I'm just kind of watching the credit, and I see my name go. I was like, oh whoa, wait a minute, I worked on this movie, and I don't mean to sound like a douche when I say that, but just kind of like it's because I only worked on it for 2 days.
Right.
So, and I only just drove the truck. So that's why it wasn't anything big. It was just
that's cool though.
A favor. A friend of mine needed a favor, and they say, hey, we're a little shorthanded. Do you mind helping me drive the truck? So I did it was not very sexy. It was just picking up stuff and putting it here, putting it there, and then I got to eat lunch, right? And I got paid a little bit of money because I could use the money. I was young, and we could always use the money. What are we saying? That's right. But anyway, so yeah, and then so that I would say, to be perfectly honest, was my biggest thrill seeing my name on a crawl like that, because I forgot I worked on the show.
That'd be awesome. I'd love that.
And I didn't expect credit too. I didn't expect.
I mean, did you know immediately? Did you know immediately it was you, or did it take you a second to be thinking, "Oh, there's somebody with my name"?
No. I remembered. It took me a quick second. It's like, wait a minute, why would my name be on it? It's like, oh yeah, that's right. My friend who was the production coordinator on that movie.
That's a good friend, because he's probably who put your name in.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was a she, and for sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's really cool. You got to do some work for Hateful Eight too, right?
Yes, that was so exciting to work on a Tarantino, because like I have. You always, I'm a big dork, right? So like, when I get to work on something that's one of my heroes, when you inside, you freak out as a professional, you just work, you do the work. But on the inside, I was just like,
yeah,
Woo! Right. So yeah. So that was
That's
quite a
awesome.
thrill for me.
Yeah, I think what you do is so neat, but I know that it's also can be kind of tedious and time consuming. But it
Mhm.
sounds like you love what you do, which is all you can really ask for a job.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So okay, so we got to talk about Artists in Agony.
All right.
But tell me what this project is and how are you involved in it?
What is it? It's a madcap improv comedy, like kind of like in the vein of Spinal Tap or What We Do in the Shadows, where it's a found footage film where we get to
Love it.
see how four famous hitmen died in this crazy, like infamous massacre. And so it's kind of like Spinal Tap in that, like instead of following like rock stars who are bumbling and full of themselves, we follow hitmen that are bumbling and full of themselves. So and that's pretty much it, But
Well,
it's a comedy.
it's a what do they call those? Like a mockumentary.
Absolutely, it is a mockumentary, not real, but shot in a documentary style. So it was a wonderful opportunity to kind of like poke fun at documentaries themselves. So and I watch a lot of documentaries. I enjoy documentaries. So this is,
Yeah. Did
I
you
thought it was a
write it?
really fun format. What's that?
Did you write it?
I did. I did.
Oh,
But
that's awesome.
mind you, the actors also were kind of coming up with dialogue themselves. So it was a very kind of fluid, organic process where sometimes I would write a line and I'd ask the actors to just, hit that line however they wanted, you know, or yeah, or they came up with dialogue themselves because they had motivations. Like I would whisper, for example, like because I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to whisper in an actor's ear and say, okay, in this job interview scene, I want you to do whatever it takes to get this job. And then whisper to the other actor, okay, whatever they do, don't give them the job. And just kind of see how it all kind of collides.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we did. I did have kind of like a super structure in my mind. Like, okay, I kind of know, I do have an idea of how I want it to end, but I honestly wanted the actors to kind of make it their own and just see how they got there, you know? So I wasn't too tied to how they got there. And if they had ideas, then I would get ideas. Or if they didn't have an idea, then I would have an idea and we would try stuff. So
Yeah.
it was an exciting way to do the project.
I think for me, the best part would be making up the different assassins.
Yeah, that was fun too, because honestly, I felt like I'm a big universe guy in that I like to create. My heroes are like James Cameron and Ridley Scott and these guys that make these huge worlds. So I thought, oh, this would be a fun opportunity, to create this kind of subculture that does not exist. Okay, but a subculture of assassins, because we always see assassins as being these cool, slick
Right.
characters that are just like, oh, tough. And I thought, wouldn't it be funny if we saw a bumbling kind of like stupid side? Like, what if they're jackasses? How about that? Like, let's try that. And I thought that take themselves way too seriously. And then, yeah, it was just fun to kind of like say, okay, so this is the housewife assassin, and this is the new father assassin, and this is the kind of like the lover assassin, and this is the new upstart that becomes the hot starlet assassin, and just having them all kind of clash together at the very end would be a
Yes,
fun thing
I,
to
I
do.
love that idea. I mean, how fun to create it.
It
I'm
was
assuming,
irresistible. I had
yeah.
to do it.
Well, yeah,
There were
of
times I
course.
questioned myself, like, why am I doing this? It's like, because when else am I ever going to get to do something like that? Plus, I'm the cameraman in the universe. So I'm actually like a Soderbergh kind of thing. I'm shooting the movie and directing, but I'm also kind of saying lines as the cameraman because I'm a character in the
Oh, I
universe.
like it. I
So
was going to ask you if you've put yourself in there at all.
yeah, I'm in there. I mean, limited, but just so if say that sometimes the actor would regard me as the character in character and I would answer in character. That happened occasionally. But for the most part, I'm just directing and shooting the movie that I'm making as a character in the world. So,
I
and
love
my
it.
wife and co-producer was the boom mic girl. So we're a crew of two, we're a crew of two. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love that. So by the end of it, do you get to find out what happened to them?
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. I'm not going to, I mean, watch the movie. It'll be on Tubi, July 21st for free. You
I
can
know.
you can
I'm
just
super.
you
Thank
can just
goodness
set it
for
on Tubi
Tubi.
on your way out to see Oppenheimer or Barbie. Just let it play. You don't have to watch it.
I love that Tubi has come along and is putting really great projects on there for free that you might not get to see otherwise.
I think it's becoming like the new like TV in that. Remember when growing up, you only had three channels, right?
Oh yeah.
NBC, ABC, CBS, and there's no cuss words and no it's kind of everything has to be PG rated on network TV. What's fascinating about Tubi is that I guess because our show it's kind of R rated. There's no nudity or anything, but just there's a lot of gunplay. It's a satire, but there is a lot of gunplay and
yeah.
Well, there's a lot of F bombs, but
well, you would expect a movie about assassins to have F bombs in it.
Right. So anyway, just I think Tubi is a great it's a good idea. Yeah, it's kind of like network, but without some of the restrictions. So I think that's a really good point that you made.
Where did you find your cast?
So I just was shooting a lot of short films,
Yeah,
because I didn't just do Agony and that's it. I was working full time in my VFX job and also kind of shooting short films. So the thing about cast is I don't audition because no one likes auditioning. I don't like auditioning. The actors don't like auditioning.
right.
And then even if you do audition and you say get an actor that does a great audition, you might not get that performance on film when,
right.
No one's fault. It's just the nature of it. So what I found is I just first off, I if I have a talented actor and I get along with them, because the actor director thing is a very close relationship. You have to trust each other. It's like trapeze artists, kind of sort of. And so good actors know other good actors. They hang out. So you just go, hey, I'm looking for, like for instance, like I say, hey, do you know anyone with a really cool voice? Because I'm looking for a gangster. And then my friend will say, oh yeah, I'm in a theater company with so and so. So it's a lot of times actors who know actors, and they'll recommend people to me, And what's wonderful is that it's not cold because the person who's worked with me can vouch for me as well. And there you go. And it just kind of grows from there. So really it's just friends of friends, actors who know actors kind of thing.
Yeah. How long?
And a lot of times they're theater. So sorry?
Yeah, go ahead. Finish your thought there.
Oh no, and a lot of times they're from the theater.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, that makes sense. I was asking how long was the shoot?
Okay. Well, do you count just the shooting part or the editing part or just the whole kit and caboodle?
The whole, well, no, let's just the shooting, just the filming.
8 years.
I knew it was going to be long.
Yeah,
because you're doing it on the side.
Well, in the Iron Triangle, as they say, you hit fast, good, and cheap, right? Okay, so we had good because my actors were excellent, and I was doing my best to, craft a story that could really help them shine, right? And it's cheap because we're all just kind of doing it in our free time, right? So it couldn't be fast. So and I love that the actors never gave up on it, even though it took years. Like, I would ask them, like, are you mad that it's second line? And then no, they would cite to me, no, the Iron Cross. It's the Iron Triangle. Not the Iron Cross, the Iron Triangle, which is fast, good, cheap. And but everyone believed in the project, which was really, really awesome. Sweet. So
yeah. Well, it had to be like cathartic, validating, whatever word you want to use, when it was finally complete, even before you had sold it to anybody or got anybody to show it. Just having it done, that had to be a big day.
Oh yeah, especially for my wife, because she was sick of this show. Sick. Like she whenever I came up with hey babe, I got a great idea for a scene, she's like, nope. She would shut me down immediately. It's like, no, start editing, finish it up. It's great. Like, because as an artist, you always want, ooh, can I make it a little bit better? Maybe if I could just paint just a little bit more, highlight, and she refused, to her credit. Like
that's probably a good wife there.
Oh, absolutely.
But otherwise you'd still be working on
it. Probably. You'd probably be in it, and this right here would be in it, part of it too, for somehow.
Okay, now I'm disappointed that you didn't take longer. If you needed a body, I could totally, as long as you didn't give me any lines, you could totally shoot me up. I could do that.
And that's the beauty of this project too, which is also kind of helped, like, added that to the length. It's like, if I would say be at a party and I discovered an actor I really liked, I was like, dude, would you like to be, I think you'd make a great assassin, or I think you'd make a great victim. Would you mind, I'm doing this project, would you mind, doing a spot, or etc. And so that was also part of the fun too. And people flake too. When people flaked, it's like, okay, well, that guy died, I guess. That guy got killed off, you know. That's the beauty of this kind of project. So
yeah, pretty great. What's the response been for it?
really good, really, really positive. I'm so heartened, especially now that I'm kind of been doing press and in interviews with people like yourself who've watched it, and I'm getting the feedback, and I'm just, because the thing is, when you shoot these things, it's in a vacuum. You don't know if it's
right.
I mean, you have your own taste that you depend on, like, because it's like, well, it's funny to me, I think it's cool, like, I hope other people think it's cool. And so you just, it's a weird, it's because it's not like theater or stand-up where you get the response immediately. It's like you write a story, and then you shoot a scene, and then you edit it, and then you put it out there, and you're not even sure if it's gonna land, and all you have is your kind of instincts, your own taste. So that's why it's important to just kind of like go look. Even if the world hates it, do you like it? And if the answer is yes, then hopefully it will find its audience. I think, yeah, Greta Gerwig said something really cool I saw recently, and she said that, like, the more personal you make it, the more universal it becomes. And I thought that was brilliant.
I like that.
So,
yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, so the big question, I guess, would be, is there going to be a sequel?
Oh goodness, it's funny you mentioned that. If if people are interested, like, let's see what happens with this film. If people are interested, I did have ideas of continuing it as a kind of mini series, like the way Watchmen. Watchmen had a movie, and then they had like a little HBO 7-part series kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
so
really good.
I did have thoughts of, ideas, that I did write down. Like, okay, if people want to see more of this universe, do I have anything more I'd like to do? And I thought, yeah, actually, because there's a lot of ideas that didn't make the show that I would kind of like to see, happen. But like I said, it all depends if there's an audience for it. If people really, if people really, really, dig the film, then we'll see. But yeah, I have some ideas. I do.
I think that from now on, anytime you do a film or TV show or anything, you need to bring one of those actors that played the assassin and just put them in there. They don't even have to have anything to do with the story. Just have a cameo, just like a nod to an earlier work. And then fans that have seen that earlier work, they're going to be like, hey, that's what's his name or whatever as the assassin, because you have to dress him so that he was recognizable as the assassin, but just never explain it. It's just in the background of whatever.
That would be exciting. That would be fun. I wouldn't mind doing that. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Especially if it cross genres, like it's a comedy, but then you have this assassin in the background. Like, what's that?
Yeah.
What's that guy? Yeah, that'd be funny.
He's just getting coffee or whatever in the background.
Right. Yeah, something mundane. Yeah. That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious.
We love Easter eggs.
Totally.
Yeah, that'd be pretty great.
Well, now that you mention it, it's funny because I did a short film, just a fun little idea about two gangsters trying to kill each other in the dark.
Yeah.
And then every time it's in pitch black, they can't find each other, but they're trying to kill each other. And then whenever one person's shot, kind of like, do you ever play Combat in Atari and you have the tanks and they only appear when they shoot? It's kind of like that. But it's a short film, right? So I have an undercover cop and a gangster, and they're both trying to kill each other in the dark. And every time they shot, the room lights up, right? Because for a split second, I'd freeze time and have the camera go around the room and show you what was going on.
Oh,
and every time the gun went off, it'd be another piece of the puzzle, right? And it's a short, so I figured. And in that short are two of the assassins that are actually in my feature.
Oh, so I love that.
So in a sense, you could think of them as the same characters.
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah, see, I love that. That type of stuff I think is really cool with that. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, I'm real good to just throw ideas out there with nothing behind them. So
Well, I love that we're in an age now where people can pause and kind of like really like, wait, who is that? What is that? Like, I think so now you got to be really careful. You got to be on your toes. Like, oh, be careful who you put in or whatever, because they might, it could be
it could mess you up if you put the wrong one in there. Do you remember the combat on Atari? If you hit the joystick right, the tank would just disappear and then pop up in a different location.
Yes, I do.
It's like
I
a
do. Like
glitch
that,
or something.
like a glitch. Yeah, totally.
I miss those days.
Oh, they're here. They're just for not us anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Did you get to play it in a theater? Did you do a red carpet or anything for it?
Yes, we had a few festival screenings. We had one on the East Coast that, it's funny. We had an East Coast premiere and a West Coast premiere.
Yeah.
And my wife was so upset with me. Well, not with me, but just how it kind of fell down, because they're at the same weekend. So, and we entertained for like a split second. Like, well, should we just get on a plane and fly over? And then invariably it's like, nah, it's so we had some really fun screenings up on the big screen. To see it on the big screen is such a thrill, and it's rarefied air. So,
well, yeah, and then at the end with the credits, your name would be all over those credits.
Yeah, you want to know? Can I tell you a little secret?
Yeah.
So, because I'm the cinematographer so I'm doing the end credits, and I'm sick and tired of seeing my name again and again and again. That I made up an alias for my cinematographer, just because I was too embarrassed to see my name all over the credits so much. So, and it's an inside joke too. So the cinematographer's name is Hak Mama. Hak Mama is actually a Cantonese expression that means murky as fuck, like dark, like super dark, murky, like can't see shit, basically, is what I said. Yeah. So I thought it was a funny little. So there's an Easter egg for you.
Yeah, I love that. That's very humble of you, thinking that you're on the credits too much. It was your project.
Well, yeah, but dude, 3 times. It's like 3-4 times. It's like, that's enough. I wrote it, I directed it. I didn't even put myself credited as far as me like being in it as an actor. Like, that was a bridge too far. But yeah, I did I did effects for it. It was just too much. It was too much.
I mean, I actually get that because I've done that with the podcast. Anytime somebody from the family helps at all with anything, I find a way to give them a credit on IMDb.
Oh my God. There's a fun little game that me and my wife joke. It's like, how many times did my sister-in-law appear as a dead body because she was just game to do it? Because she's in there like 6 times. It's for us, it's very much a circus family project.
Yeah, I love that. My stepson when occasionally my son and I will do just like a pop culture episode where we'll talk about something. We did one this weekend on Indiana Jones, and sometimes,
oh my God, that sounds like so much fun. That's like a dream of mine.
Oh,
to talk pop culture to my kids.
Oh, well, you'll have to come join us one time.
And then see what sticks and what's cool or what's dumb, what's lame to them. Like that's always been a dream of mine, to just freak out my kids. I don't have kids, but just someday to be able to show my kids, the movies I grew up with, and just tell and bore them with them. And then they can tell me how they hate it or whatever. I live for it.
You should. Yeah, you need to come on with us. We did Indiana Jones, and we had a gentleman that's an AD on a lot of the Marvel project, and he's just a nerd too, and he just wanted to come talk about Indiana Jones. I was like, well, come on. So we did that, but we had one episode. It was me and my son. My stepson was supposed to do it with us, but both of us forgot to invite him. Right.
Okay.
So we're sitting there talking about the fact that Sean, my stepson, was late for the episode. We're recording, talking about it, and we finally figured out. We're like, oh, I thought you invited him. And you're like, no, I thought you. So it was our fault. Well, then on IMDb for that episode, I gave him a credit just as a missing host.
How funny. How old is Sean?
So let's see. Sean's our youngest. He's 22.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And then like my son Brett does the editing and stuff for us. He's the brains behind it. He's 23, and then we've got a 25-year-old daughter and a 28 soon to be 29-year-old daughter.
Man, that's fat. You look too young to be having kids.
Man, I got 5 grandkids.
Oh my goodness.
They're young. They're young. But yeah. No, I appreciate
22 and 23 is such a great age to be. Wow.
Oh my gosh. I wish I could go back to, people always say, I wish I could be a teenager again. Early 20s is where it's at.
That's funny. Yeah, I hear you. Because you have more agency. You have more, you have, at least when I was my early 20s, when I think of my early 20s, all I remember is my pickup truck, the wind in my hair when I had hair.
Same.
And just going to my friend's house, just bombing over to my friend's house because, oh, you want to hang out, and just getting in the truck.
Well, and because you grew up then too, no cell phones, no internet.
No cell phones, no internet, no.
So once you left the house, you were gone.
Yeah, you were in the wind.
To somebody else's house. And then you probably call home to say, I'm here.
Or not.
Or not.
Right, yeah.
Like, I don't ever remember my parents being overly concerned about not hearing from me.
Same.
Same. And most of the time, they knew where I was. Even if I called, they knew where I was.
Well, can you imagine coming in at like 3 a.m. and then just passing out? And then, like, if kids did that today, I mean, I'm sure they do, but
it's a little different though. You can't just let people run around anymore. It's dangerous out there.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think it was dangerous for us back then too.
It was more than I probably like to think about, but we got into some shenanigans, of course. Although most of the time we were just at somebody's house.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
That was
Oh yeah. I was a good boy. I'm not saying I was a bad boy. It's just, but I stayed up late, and then a lot of times we're just hanging out with my buddies, watching movies and talking about, girls, and that's it.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I miss those days. Those I didn't know it at the time because I had so many. I had so much anxiety when when you're growing up, and I was kind of shy, and I was an introvert, and so I struggled a little bit. So it didn't seem great at the time, but then looking back, I'm like, that was the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I wish my buddies would call now and be like, hey, we're hanging out over here, just shooting the breeze or whatever. And I'll be like, okay,
yeah, no, we're now we're all busy with our own families, and yeah, it's true. It's absolutely
now all
true.
of those overnight talk fests or the movie fest or over the weekend, all of that has been replaced now, where my friends and I will get together and have dinner on their birthday.
Right on.
That's it. And it's not a late dinner. It's early. Like, we're home by 8 o'clock usually.
It's funny though. It's like, since you mentioned it, it's like now with my older buddies from that time, what I do is we text each other like the same stupid inside jokes.
Yeah.
Just no context though. We just be like, just like whatever, like some a Beavis and Butthead reference, whatever. And
is your wife sick of hearing the same stories?
Probably, but she's sweet enough to not say anything, unless she might say, "You've said this." Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. It's a rerun. Oh, sorry. Okay.
That's usually all of our wives. We get together, we start immediately talking about the same crap we always do. And that's
of
what
course
they're like, we've heard this story 30 times, or whatever. And we're like,
their eyes roll.
We were there, and we're still retelling it.
Right. Well, they weren't there. They don't get how epic it was.
Oh my gosh. It was pretty epic. So it's Artists in Agony.
Correct.
Get us back on track. July 21st on Tubi. Is it available anywhere else?
Yeah, it'll be on other platforms as well, but Tubi is the biggest. Tubi is the most, people know Tubi.
It's free.
So. And it's free, yes, with commercials. Old school.
I mean, commercials didn't bother us that much when we were growing up.
Well, it was a chance to get a drink or something, or a snack.
It wasn't a big deal. I mean, the only issue I have with commercials now is a lot of times, especially on streamers, every commercial break, they show the exact same commercials.
I'm right there with you. And I knew you were going to say that because it's true. The same commercial pops up so much to the point where you're like, start to question your sanity, and you start to question the logic of the commercial. Like, why do the kids care so much about detergent or whatever? Whatever.
And why would they, like, I'm sure that they've sold, hey, we can put you in 6 times during this episode or whatever. But why would they do that? You know what I mean? I mean, say put it in there twice. Twice is fine, but anything over 2, that's too many.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just, to them it's a numbers game. So I guess they figured if you just tuned in, here's the product again.
Yeah,
if you just tuned in,
I'm sure that's what it is. And who, I'm probably the only. I'm a curmudgeon. I'm an old guy. I'm grumpy. So nobody else probably cares. But I'm like, I've seen this one already.
No, I don't think that's curmudgeon-y at all. I think that's just logic. That's just, hey, stupid that's weird. Like, what, the same commercial over and over. But maybe that's the new normal. So,
I also prefer to watch series week to week. I don't really care for the binge watching. I've done it, but
it's funny
because I like to dissect the episodes.
I feel you. It's a thing for me. I like that it's frozen. Like, I like that I can kind of control, because sometimes there'll be these crazy heavy episodes that I need a break. Like, wow, that was a really crazy dramatic thing that just happened in that episode. Or the opposite. Like, ooh, I'm ready for the next one. Can I see and I don't have to wait. I can see the next one right now. So it all depends. Certain shows we savor. Like, we take our time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you want to see another episode of whatever, and like, oh yeah, or you want to see an episode of The Boys, and we'll just be like, oh, it's so heavy, hold on, let's slow it down a little bit, that kind of thing. So
yeah,
I like that it's frozen. I like that we have control, because remember, we didn't have control. You'd miss it, and you're like, and that was it. If you missed it, it was gone. Remember?
You had to wait till summer to have a shot at seeing it,
right? Or syndication, like just on the local channels, and then you're like, oh, I didn't see this episode, let me watch it.
Yeah, I know. When like I remember when we got cable, it was 1978, and it only came with like 2 extra channels. There was like Atlanta and Chicago. That was cable. HBO, you could pay extra for HBO, but we didn't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Same. We just had basic. That's all our folks got.
But the picture was a lot better.
Oh yeah. And I'm like, okay, so what do I get? I get Nickelodeon and MTV. Yay.
Yeah, they just kind of slowed through the 80s. They just kept adding channels.
Yeah, if I wanted a movie channel, I had to go to a friend's house.
Yeah.
Which is why I was there all the time.
I had a buddy and they had one of those 10-inch TVs in the kitchen. And we would always be sneaking in there to watch like R-rated HBO movies, but they were in black and white because it was just that little tiny TV. But we're sitting with the volume down real low, sitting close to the TV watching that. Like, idiot. It was great, though. We loved it. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, good. Yeah. I thought we froze up for a second. Okay, so I've got us way off track. Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
So let's wrap up this way, Kenneth. A couple of things. Is there anything else that you're currently working on that we can keep an eye out for after Artists in Agony?
Well, not really. Everyone's striking right now, and just I have a few kind of horror ideas that I'm working on, horror scripts, but there's you can see a lot of our previous work on KennethLui.com. So if you care to check out some of the shorts that has many of the same actors that are in Artists in Agony, you can see it there too. Plus, there's little extras. Remember DVDs had like little extras?
Oh yeah,
little scenes. We have that on ArtistsInAgony.com. There, some of the bits that didn't make the show live on that website. So it's almost like you get a little bit more movie if you go to the website.
Yeah, and as fans, we love that extra stuff.
Me too. And again, it broke my heart because like to pull it out of the show, but it either messed up with the flow or whatever. So, but it was good stuff. It was still good stuff. So I was really happy to put it on the website. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so last question, Kenneth, before we go.
Yeah, shoot.
Where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at let me see here. Hold on. You can find me at on Instagram. It's Mental Pictures Productions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's of course ArtistsInAgony.com is the website. You can find my previous work on KennethLui.com. That's LUI. And we're also on Facebook, Mental Pictures Productions. So that's pretty much
awesome.
it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Kenneth, thank you so much. You have to come back when you get the next one out. You got to come back and talk about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, this has been a blast. All right, hold on one second. Well, I appreciate you guys putting up with me nerding out and being nostalgic about the 80s. That's something that I always get excited about talking about. So apologies that I got us off track, but Kenneth Lui was awesome. He was just the best, just the nicest guy. Do me a favor, do Kenneth a favor, and next Friday on Tubi, check out Artists in Agony and give him your support. He mentioned just play it in the background. Well, don't just play it. Actually, check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it. He's a really talented guy, and we talked about a lot of the things that he's worked on the effects on, but we didn't hit everything. He worked on Ant-Man, Gods of Egypt, RoboCop, Divergent, Guardians, Thor, Iron Man. Let's see, Oz, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Transformers. I mean, he's worked on all the big ones. So pretty cool guy, and I appreciated him kind of explaining what the visual effects artist does. I thought that was really interesting. Thank you guys for tuning in again this week. Really appreciate that. If you're finding us for the first time and you enjoyed it and would like to see more, I've got good news for you. Today, we put out episode 618. So you've got plenty of material to check out, and it is loaded with what I think is the best guest list of any podcast or TV show that's out there. So there's a couple ways that you can support us if you would like. We'd really appreciate it. If you prefer to watch, our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Just hit subscribe. It's free. Really helps us out. If you are listening, just wherever you're listening to your podcast from, subscribe there. That'll help us as well. You can find all 618 episodes and counting, audio and video, on our website, meistercon.com. So definitely check us out there. And I'll also put a plug in. We were recently named one of IMDb's or IMDb top podcasts. There's 15 million podcasts out there. We were number 82. So pretty proud of that. Most of the podcasts ahead of us are just much better or much bigger. I won't say better because I think we can hold our own, but bigger productions like Disney, Marvel, Joe Rogan, those type of things. That's what's ahead of us for number 82. We're pretty proud of that. You can support us by going to imdb.com, looking up the Two Opinionated podcast, and just kind of look at the page. Just that traffic really helps us out. So imdb.com, Two Opinionated podcast. The website's meistercon.com. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm once again here to ask for your support. It's been a big year for the Two Opinionated podcast. Back in February, we got to live out a dream, moderate for William Shatner here in our hometown. In May, we passed 100,000 downloads on our YouTube channel, and we followed that up in June with 50,000 downloads on the audio side. We recently posted our 600th episode, which is pretty good volume for just a father and son operation. Not too many podcasts can keep that volume up. We've been doing this now for 4.5 years, 600 plus episodes. We recently hit 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, which is a really big deal for us because we've always gotten the views, but have struggled to get people to subscribe. So that 1,000 was a big deal for us. And best of all, we were recently named one of the top podcasts on IMDb, which is the entertainment database. Those that are ahead of us, we came in at number 82. Those that are ahead of us are bigger companies like Disney, mostly Marvel, and Joe Rogan, that type of podcast. So for us, being just a small West Virginia father and son podcast, to be in the top 100 out of 15 million, it's a pretty big deal for us. So thank you for everything you've done for us so far. Got a couple little ways, though, that you can help us, and they're free, and they're really easy. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel yet, please go to YouTube. It's under MeisterCon Pod. Just hit subscribe. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, really helps us a ton. And maybe even more important, if you could go to imdb.com, look up the Two Opinionated podcast, and just look around the page. Just having that traffic on the page really helps us out. So that's a couple easy ways that you can support us, even if you're not listening or watching all of the time. And we want you to listen and watch, because I think that our guest list, I would put up against anybody, any other show, podcast, anybody out there. I think our guest list holds up. So please check us out. You probably will find somebody that you like, or maybe somebody that you didn't know you liked, but kind of discovered them on there. There's tons of that. If you're into music, we have that too. If you like books, we've got authors on there. If you're more into what goes on behind the scenes in the entertainment world, we've got producers, directors, video artists, anything you can think of that happens behind the scenes, we've had them on the show. So definitely check us out. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.